everyone, welcome to our blog. We're going to be talking about diversity and inclusion today. My name's Katie Perez. I'm the content and campaign lead here at DRPG. I'm joined by Alex Cottam. He's one of our junior account executives and also a member of our Equality Ambassadors team. I'm also joined by Gabby and Ashanti, and they join us from Diversity Ally. So do you guys want to talk a little bit about what you do and the aims of the company?
Sure. I'm Ashanti, one half of Diversity Ally, and what we do is we really help the events industry to become more diverse and inclusive in its culture, image, and people.
Hi there, everybody. My name's Gabby. I'm the other half of Diversity Ally, an events professional for a number of years, working kind of like B2C events, and also working with regards to sales strategies and business development for hospitality venues in London. So real background in events, and as Ashanti said, we're all about helping make the events industry become more inclusive and diverse, and supporting that since nobody else is really taking ownership on that. So here we are.
Like a really simple question, but could you maybe give us a bit of a definition of what is diversity and inclusion, and also potentially looking at kind of the difference between diversity and inclusion, because I think that potentially is something that people maybe don't fully understand.
Yeah, I think diversity is really about recognizing the uniqueness of people and the different parts of what make us who we are. It can include the protected characteristics or identity markers such as gender, race, age, that sort of thing. But I think it also includes the things that make up who we are. And I heard something the other day as well. Inclusion was described in this particular way. And I was like, yeah, oh my God, that's such a really good way to describe it. And it's described as kind of a doing word. It's, I guess, something that is a choice in a way. You can choose to be inclusive. You can have the intention to be inclusive. So that's a choice, whereas diversity is just who we are. It's not really a choice. So that's kind of how I would describe diversity and inclusion and the differences.
I think in the workplace and business specifically, what that really means is fair redistribution of resources, of power, and of access, essentially. So once you recognize those diversity, once you make the choice to be intentionally inclusive, you then have to make sure that all of those individuals have access to, higher pay. You need to make sure that the resources that you have as a business, as an organization, are shared amongst all and open to all. And then also you have to think about who has power within an organization. And that probably speaks in very practical terms to, do we have any diversity in our management group, on the board? So those positions within an organization, which inherently do mean you get paid more, but also that you have more responsibility. So that translates into kind of redistributing resources, access, and power.
I feel like inclusion and equity is kind of like the secret sauce, as it were. It's kind of the key to attracting and retaining diverse talent, as it were.
We've talked a bit about what it is. Why is it that businesses, aside from the obvious moral obligations, but why is it that businesses should be focusing on it?
I mean, it's an interesting one, isn't it? And it's one that comes up quite often. I know, Katie, when we spoke previously, I said to you that, the reality for CEOs and board members is not necessarily a moral one, because that should be a standard. But if it was that compelling, we probably wouldn't be having these conversations right now. And so I think for a business, the obvious, and one of the things I say there's an appetite for diversity, but from a business's point of view, there's a need for profit, right? So the ultimate reality is that you can be a more profitable, productive business if you are focusing on inclusion. So what that looks like, or could look like, is if you make your employees feel more included and valued, they will work harder for you. they will stay longer in your company, which means you get a return on investment in what you're paying them for what you've invested in their learning and development. If you actively work on inclusion within your company, you are able to demonstrate to prospective clients and customers that you recognize humanity, that your workforce represents or reflects in some proportional way them. And that means that clients and customers want to work with you. They want to spend their money with you. They want to invest in your brand or business. And then in addition to that, when you think about generational differences, the future workforce who are Gen Z, they care about these things. And they're also your key to sustainability as a business. If you're not planning on hiring anyone in their early to mid-20s, then your business is going to die. But that's what matters for them as an employee. But also then that means that your future customer is probably of that generation as well. Or at the very least, they're going to be a decision maker in some of the businesses or brands that you want to do business with. So that's, again, that link to profit. So if from a business's point of view, your outlook, your priority is profit and productivity, then diversity and inclusion is a surefire route towards achieving those things.
I suppose as well as you say, the moral obligation of D&I in the workplace, as you said, Ashanti, you are future-proofing your workforce, you are future-proofing the audience, which, as you say, Gen Z, we are hyper-aware of D&I, and it's so ingrained in our culture that it would be upsetting to see yourself subscribing to a business that isn't ingraining that culture within its workforce. So yeah, future proofing, I think, is and then in turn, obviously profits happen.
Yes.
But it's trying to make that link between not just the moral obligation of the business, but also recognizing that it does lead to profits as well. Which shouldn't even come into it, really, should it? When you're thinking about D&I, it should be an assumed it's there. We're all celebrating diversity and inclusion, but it does lead to profits.
If you are a global business and you are not figuring out how to effectively and authentically communicate with this rise of young people that are going to shape the future, then you will cease to be relevant in a very short space of time. And so it's important that you are thinking far ahead. Again, like I said, it's not just the nice thing to do. It's not just the right thing to do. It's the vital thing to do if you want to future-proof your business.
If we go to the fundamental element of inclusion, you need to have the inclusion with the diversity. And the thing is, I do believe, and this is just from a personal perspective, that, if you as an organization, if our CEOs, leaders, our colleagues, our peers don't really believe or care about inclusion, even when doing all of this work, it's not going to result in the profits that it could do. And I feel like to really be and believe and have that intention of creating an inclusive environment, it has to start on an individual level through self-awareness, through education, through questioning, through allyship. And I do still think these soft skills are key elements as well if we're looking to how businesses are going to make profit and retain talent.
From my time working in comms, I think the fascinating thing I recognised is the fact that when we do work on diversity and inclusion campaigns for different businesses, like we did an amazing campaign for Direct Line, and out of that, even though you can create a set of assets which maybe are targeted towards a specific audience, you then find that empowerment and that emotive response is cascaded throughout the whole business. So you have individuals responding to blogs and articles and videos going, wow, I didn't know this about you, this is amazing, like celebrating people's differences. And it's not just for higher tier management, it's for recruitment, it's for mental well-being, and the emphasis and sort of highlighting D&I, it's crazy the impact it has on the entire business operations.
These are hard conversations. They're not easy conversations. It's complex. Diversity and inclusion is so broad. So each organization, it will be different for each one. They might be working on gender, they might be working on disability. And also, you might not have an issue with hiring recruitment. Maybe it's about talent retention. So it can be very complex, and it is very emotive at times, because what we're asking individuals to do is look at their own flaws maybe their own biases that exist within them that may not have been challenged. And most human beings, a lot of human beings, find that difficult to do. Who wants to acknowledge that they are doing something that now might be considered wrong, even if it always was? There's all of those elements that we have to kind of give grace for to a certain extent.
Obviously, you guys work heavily in the events industry. As comms professionals, what can we do? What can our audience do to really help drive the move forward on this?
So I think it could be about really taking that moment to pause and reflect on what your current policies are, what your current systems and processes are. Do they allow for a diverse and inclusive culture in the first place? And being really honest and digging deep to see maybe what blind spots you have as an organization, as individuals, with regards to your stakeholders, your customers. Are we creating an environment that people feel inspired to contribute to? We're not just dictating to people, imposing to people what we think they should care about. Perhaps we should start asking these people what they want to hear, what they want to care about, and driving our communications towards a human.
So I suppose a lot of that becomes a part of creating a movement that is employee led, and it doesn't just come from the top down, but actually comes from the bottom up.
Yeah.
With that.
Yeah, with facilitation from the top and and support for sure. Yeah, for everyone to be involved in that. Yeah.
And I think also companies can be quite good at asking, but they're not necessarily that great at listening. So I would say that maybe really listening and then really acting on the information that people are getting. So again, like I mentioned earlier, Alex is one of our equality ambassadors. They've been doing all of this research. They've been discussing and talking and arming themselves with all of the information they can. The next step is what's done with that. It's not the case, it's not enough to just question. You've really got to kind of listen and then act. So
I think especially with equality as well, I think we want to do it right once. Do you know what I mean? We want to make sure that we don't go into this saying this is our view, but actually get the views from the people working here, so that it is led by the voice of the people. Do you know what I mean? So it's not just a corporate action or a box ticking exercise, although it can benefit that. It has to come from the people for the people. So I think that's the importance, and the amount of research that we've done to make sure that we get that right, I think will show in the results that come from this year, when we're really pushing on equality, diversity, and inclusion. So
I admire that the amount of research. I think one of the things that you're in a great position to do is demonstrate to your clients how looking at diversity and inclusion and using that to underpin the campaigns that you co-create with them, how that benefits them. I think that's really brilliant, because I think a lot of communications agencies struggle to do that. And I think the approach that you've taken by giving the task of doing the research an owner, a team that goes out and does this research. And obviously I know that you draw the parallels for your clients, so that the sector that you're targeting, this is what they care about, this is what you could talk about. I think that's brilliant. I think when you're looking at comms internally for a company, and even to an extent as part of a marketing campaign, for example, transparency is really key. I think it's absolutely okay to say we are just starting this journey. We don't know what the answers will be. We are open to hearing what you think, and we will have to figure out what the next steps are. In our experience with organizations, when they view comms as like the announcement, as opposed to a two-way communication where you show some vulnerability, you show that you're aware that you don't have all the answers and that you will need to do some work to understand them. And I think that's the key thing that sometimes is missed when it comes to comms.
Yeah, I mean, that's certainly something that we've seen a lot of. We've seen a big increase in clients coming to us for that research and insights piece. They really want to get to know their audiences first, and every area of their audiences. And that's why that our research and insights team have been rushed off their feet, which is great, because it means that clients are really getting to know their customers and therefore able to provide them with exactly what is going to speak to them on the best level.
Yeah.
And I think that's a really important first step. So thank you, Gabby and Ashanti, for joining us. It's been absolutely fantastic. Keep up all the amazing work. It's just absolutely brilliant. I hope you guys have found this useful and valuable. If you want any more information, please do go to our blog at drpgroup.com. We've got lots of articles in there delving into the topic a little bit more and hopefully providing some good tips and how-tos as well. So thanks very much for joining us and see you soon.